In this video, we are going to take a look at 15 example questions for TfL SERU Assessment. These are official format, up-to-date questions for 2024. Before we dive into solving questions, for those who are not familiar with the format of the exam, here is an overview. The total duration of the exam is 45 minutes, and each of you will be presented with 36 questions. Among these 36 questions, there are total 22 multiple choice questions, 12 fill in the blank questions, and 2 reading and understanding questions. Please note that this is not hard and fast rule. There have been scenarios and situations where the students were presented with 3 or even 4 reading and understanding questions. Last but not the least, the minimum passing criteria is still 60%. Before we start solving these example questions, it is equally important to know how to use the software. As many of you might already know, that fill in the blank questions are no longer drag and drop based questions. Instead, they are now drop down menus from which you can select the correct option. In these fill in the blank questions, in the drop down menu, you will find three couples. What do I mean by that is that there will be two words or two options very similar to each other. So you have to choose the correct option very carefully. These fill in the blank questions are focused to examine the candidate's ability from the knowledge of handbook as well as English grammar rules. The grammar rules tested in this exam are comprised of similar words, capital letters, use of an or a, singular versus plural nouns, and subject verb agreement. The exercises related to these rules are available for free of cost on our website. Now let's continue with the test. In this first example question, we have this sentence. You something from supplying a medical form if you have a valid current something issued by the joint something. So, in these three spots, we have to choose the correct answer from this drop down menu. As mentioned earlier, that fill in the blank questions test your knowledge of handbook as well as basic English grammar rules. For this specific example, on our website in section 1 medical conditions, you can find the answer. You may be exempt. So the first right option is may be exempt from supplying a medical form if you have a valid current pilot's license. So the second option, the right answer is pilot's license. And the third one is issued by the Joint Aviation Authorities. Here, Joint Aviation Authorities has J, A, and A in uppercase letters. If you go through the free course on our website for basic English grammar rules, among which one is capital letters, you will get to learn and know why the first alphabet of some proper nouns has to be in uppercase letters. So right here, we have compiled the list of all the letters or proper nouns in TfL SERU assessment for your convenience. And among these words, you can see Joint Aviation Authorities because the term or the word Joint Aviation Authorities is a proper noun. Therefore, the first alphabet or the first letter of each word has to be in uppercase letters. Now let's pick the correct answer. So, you may be exempt from supplying a medical form if you have a valid current pilot license issued by the Joint Aviation Authorities. So for the final one, Aviation Authorities, the word joint itself gives away the answer because of the uppercase J in the beginning of the word joint, and then it is obvious that choosing this option will be wrong. Now let's take a look at this example. Section 170 of the Equality Act. Both of these words or options are exactly the same, except for the difference in first alphabet being uppercase and in this one being the lowercase letter. Because the word equality act is a proper noun, as shown here in the cheat sheet for capital letters, Equality Act. So here the correct option is the Equality Act. Says that PHV drivers must accept passengers with assistance dogs and must allow or and must allows. So what is the difference? When we have a plural noun, sorry, this one. When we have a plural noun, then the verb with it should also be plural. If you are not familiar with subject verb agreement, which is one of the basic rules in English grammar, you can refer to this cheat sheet. You can also get this cheat sheet by sending us a message on WhatsApp, and you can also watch the video related to subject verb agreement, solve some exercise on our website to get a clear idea that when we have a plural subject, we use a plural verb because the subject and verb should always be in an agreement. And when we have a singular subject, then we should also use a singular verb. And a singular verb always ends with a letter S. So as here we have the subject being plural, we cannot use the verb ending with letter S. Therefore, the correct option must be and must allow the assistance dog to sit off the footwell or sit in the footwell. And of course, this one is pretty straightforward. Sit in the footwell with the passenger. Next, we have another fill in the blank example question. If there are restrictions on a or restrictions on an. So basically, this example question tests your ability to recognize the difference between the use of an and a. We know that in English language, we have 5 alphabets known as vowels. A, E, I, O, U. If you want to develop a deeper understanding about the use of an and a, I would strongly suggest you to go and watch the video on our website related to the use of an versus a and also solve the free course available. You can also have this cheat sheet as mentioned earlier by sending us a message on our WhatsApp. The rule states that if the word is starting with a vowel A, E, I, O or U, then before the word itself we use an. If the word is starting with a consonant like box or car or dog or friend or house, then we use the letter A before the word. So in respect to that, if there are restrictions on our driver's right to live and work in the UK, because the word driver is starting with the alphabet D, which is a consonant, not a vowel. TfL will add a appropriate or an appropriate. Of course, because the word appropriate is starting with a vowel as discussed just now. Therefore, before it, we will use an. Condition on the license. TfL will add an appropriate condition on the license. In particular, if you are in the UK on a student visa, you will only be allowed to work for a limited number of hours each week and you will not be allowed to be self-employed. So, an student visa is incorrect. A student visa is correct answer. Next example. If a serious complaints or a serious complaint. Of course, this one is very easy. For a single thing, we do not use plural noun. We do not add an S at the end of the noun. Therefore, the correct option is if a serious complaint is made against you or if there are a number of complaints, right? So you can see here that with plural nouns, we add an S at the end. Or there appears to be a pattern of poor behavior and all the ways. So here we are talking about more than just one thing. All the pens, right? We do not say all the pen, all the baskets, all the cycles. So all the ways, not all the way. All the ways to improve your behavior have been tried out but failed. TfL may have to suspend or revoke your license. Let's take a look at this example question. PHVs plays an important role or PHVs play an important role. Here, the word an is of course because of the word important, and it is also same in both options. The word or the real difference is PHVs plays or PHVs play. As discussed earlier, that when we have a plural subject, then the verb, which is the word play here, should also be plural. A singular verb ends with the letter S, whereas a plural verb does not need an S at the end of it. Here, the correct option for a plural subject must be a plural verb because they should always be in an agreement. PHVs play an important role in delivering passenger transport services in London, and it is essential or it are essential. We know that it is singular, therefore the verb should also be singular. It is essential that standards set by TfL ensures the safety or ensure the safety of passenger and other road users. Here again, the subject standards set by TfL. The subject is plural. There are many different standards set by TfL. So, ensures the safety is not the correct option. We will choose ensure the safety of passengers and other road users. Now take a look at this example. TfL sets requirements and standards or TfL set requirements. So here TfL is the subject, sets is the verb. They should be in agreement. TfL itself is a body, an organization, an entity. Therefore, it is a proper noun. And because it is a singular subject, therefore its verb set should also be singular ending with an S. TfL sets requirements and standards for licensing and is also responsible. Just discussed that TfL is a singular subject, therefore is also responsible, not are also responsible, because we are talking about one singular subject. For making sure that licenses follow the law, we work closely. So here you can see the difference that now we are talking about multiple people, many different people who are working inside TfL, and they work closely with the taxi and private hire trades. So we will not use a singular verb. The verb here is the word work, and we will not use it with the letter S. Therefore, the correct option is we work closely with the taxi and private hire trades, the Metropolitan Police Service and the City of London Police to ensure the safety of passengers. This fill in the blank example question also test the same English rules abilities and the knowledge of handbook. You can sometimes see what type of assistance and dog or a dog. Of course, dog is starting with an alphabet which is a consonant, therefore there is no use of using an before it. So assistance a dog provides by looking at the color of the jacket it is wearing. Remember though that an assistance dog. Now you can see the trick here. Assistance our dog provides. And here the sentence is, remember though that an assistance dog. So here the word right after the use of a or an is starting with the vowel. Assistance starting with alphabet A. Therefore, a assistance dog will be wrong. The correct option is an assistance dog may not always wear an jacket does not make sense. A jacket is the correct option. Next, we have an example of MCQ based question in TfL SERU Assessment examination. This one states that dog assistance in disability dogs are for, and we have three options: physically disabled young people, adults, and children with hearing impairments, or physically disabled adults. Of course, as we can see, that this MCQ is designed to test your knowledge of the handbook. While the handbook is 50 pages long, on our website we have all the data arranged in sections and headings where you can find the things more easily, and for your convenience we have divided all the sections with different subheadings. So for this one, in section 8 you can find assistance dogs, and the right answer for our question lies here, that assistance in disability dogs are for physically disabled adults. So we will select this option. This MCQ asks, which details should you include when recording an incident? Select three answers. We can find the answer to it in the handbook section 4, staying safe in risk of violence. So what to do if you are attacked or assaulted? Some of the things which are when and where the incident happened, information about the attacker, and whether the attacker was one of your passengers. So the correct option here are the time and location of the incident, information about the attacker, name, address if known, description of clothing, age, gender, and whether the attacker was one of your passengers. Some MCQs questions in the TfL SERU assessment exams are designed to trick you. We sometimes try to answer something quickly, but we should first focus on the statement and then make sure that we are choosing the correct answer. For instance, in this question, it is being asked, what should you do with your PHV driver's badge? And the three options given to us are: wear it all the times when working unless you are exempt, hang it in your car so it can be seen by your passengers, store it at home in a safe place. Of course, everyone will consider discarding the third option, but the second one seems very convenient and the correct one, hanging it in the car so that everybody can see it. But if we refer to the handbook, section 1, London PHV driver's licensing, and your PHV driver's badge, we will see that wearing your badge whenever you are working as a PHV driver unless you are exempt seems to be the actually correct answer. Therefore, here the first option is correct. This question is also very similar to the previous one. When can you use your mobile phone as a driver? When stopped at red lights, when stopped in traffic, anytime you're parked, when parked with your engine off. Although it might be the case that one considers that anytime you're parked, you would be allowed to use your cell phone. But that is not the case. According to the handbook, the correct option is that when parked with your engine off. Next MCQ example question says, what does a bus stop clearway look like? Wide yellow line away from the curb or a yellow line by the curb? Remember that a bus stop clearway is always by the curb, not away from the curb. So, wide yellow or red line by the curb is the correct answer. Why do we have a bus stop clearway? So that the drivers and other vehicles know that this is a bus stop and you are not allowed to stop to pick or drop the passengers. Here this MCQ asks, what times should a PHV be insured? And we have to select at least two answers. If we go to the section 2 of the handbook, in the section insurance, We have this knowledge that the insurance policy must be valid when the vehicle is licensed and at all times when the vehicle is being used as a PHV. So here the correct option is when the vehicle is licensed by TfL, when the vehicle is being used as a PHV. Next example question. Our ride-sharing passengers can become vulnerable to crime if other passengers learn what about them. We have to select minimum of two answers. The options that we have: who their employer is, whether they live alone or not, what their name is, and their home address. If we move to the handbook section 10, which is information regarding ride sharing, we will find that potential risk of ride sharing are their home address, where they work, their daily routine, and whether they live alone or not. So now we can choose two correct answers, one of them being whether they live alone or not and their home address. This is an example of reading and understanding questions. So here the instruction says that please read the following information carefully and answer the question below. We have this small passage given. A driver can only get permission to not carry wheelchairs for medical reasons. If a driver cannot carry out the duties of Section 165 of the Equality Act because the driver's poor health or fitness makes it impossible or unreasonable, an exemption certificate may be given to the driver. Now, important thing here is that whenever you read the question statement, it is, for example, here it is, which of the following statements is correct? This question can also sometimes be, which of the following statements is incorrect? So, please make sure to read it carefully and then answer accordingly. In this case, it is asking us to match the correct statement. The options which we are given are: designated wheelchair accessible PHV drivers are never exempt from carrying a wheelchair, which we know is a wrong answer because here it says that you can be exempted. Second option is designated wheelchair accessible PHV drivers can be exempt from carrying wheelchairs if they are tired. Half of the part or information is correct in this statement, but this being tired is not the reason for exemption. The third option is designated wheelchair accessible PHV drivers can be exempt from carrying wheelchairs for medical reason. This statement is correct in respect to this. For those of you who want to practice more, can access 400 official format up-to-date questions and answers in our online course. I will leave the link down below in the description. This course offers you 4 weeks of access and it also includes an official format up-to-date mock test. For a limited time, this course is available in 39.99. You can try some free questions before signing up, and if you feel any technical issues with the course, we will return your money in 30 days. We also offer an online course for topographical route planning. This course includes 30 topographical routes of the London city and also 100 plus book questions and 3 mock tests. We also offer one-on-one training for topographical route planning in English and secondary languages such as Urdu, Hindi, Bangla, Pashto, Dari, Farsi, and so on. So, if you need any assistance for TfL SERU assessment, you can contact us on our WhatsApp number and you can also call us on 020-3965-7202. Our website is www.serupractice.com.